It's indeed our great privilege to have with us Professor M.S. Sodha, a very eminent scientist. He is currently Vice Chancellor of Lucknow University. He was earlier Vice Chancellor of Indore University. His contribution to the field of education will be remembered for a very long time. Professor Sodha, there is a widespread concern that the educational standards in our universities have been deteriorating fast. As an eminent academician and Vice Chancellor of two universities, I would like to throw light on this.
Professor Agrawal, it is a little hard to generalize that the standards of education in the universities is going down, because if you look at what we call some universities of excellence like the IITs or IIMs or some of the central universities, you would agree that these are producing students who are better than students were at any time in India. And then you would look that even in other universities, the best students are better than the best students of yesteryears. But probably you are right that the average output is not as good as what it used to be. So I would say that the standards are falling in general amongst the universities. The reasons are not very far to go in. One is, of course, the increasing number of students who are seeking higher education. The second is the almost constancy, or rather the decreasing resources in terms of real money which are available for higher education. And the third is the growing irrelevance of higher education to the society or even employment.
How can the education be more tailored to the needs of the society and to the job market, the new job market?
Well, we have to introduce a lot of flexibility into the system, much more than what we have now. If we have a system, for example, like what we have now, that you have rigid departments and you have people employed there till retirement, then there is very little flexibility in the system. And you cannot really experiment with new kind of academic programs very much, because you have to do with the people whom you have got, because within the resources which are rather limited, you cannot have new people and try out new ideas. What would have been much better is that if at least half the faculty could have been of a hire and fire type, that you could fire the faculty when they were not needed and hire the faculty of the type as it was needed, so that new programs which were of relevance to the society could be created as they were needed and then disbanded as soon as the need was over.
What do you think that because of a lack of performance appraisal of teachers and lack of insistence on excellence, the teachers are not performing their duty as well as they should, normally speaking? Like in universities in USA, the teachers are hired on contract, and if their performance is not satisfactory, they are asked to leave. Only full professors are tenured professors, and there is a lot of discussion going on that it is tenured professors who do not perform. In Indian universities, there is no system of performance appraisal, and there is no reward and punishment system.
Well, in the social conditions in India are a little different. Here we give a lot of weightage to what we call stability or permanence in appointment. I mean, somebody would take even a 50% cut in the salary and go to what he calls a permanent kind of an appointment. And the reason is that sometimes people are turned out for no fault of theirs, not only because they have a poor performance, but because maybe somebody else has to be accommodated. So it is not only that you have to be perform very well, but you have to satisfy a lot of people for reasons other than your performance, that it is probably necessary in India to some extent to have this system where you are made permanent after a couple of years, so that you can be working and giving your best performance and not worrying about being thrown out by doing well. Otherwise, sometimes you have been thrown out by doing the right thing.
That's true.
So you cannot blame the system of permanency by that. But as far as appraisal is concerned, I think I agree with you, but except that you will agree that appraisal of a teacher, and at least the teaching qualities, is extremely difficult and fairly subjective.
Yes. Would you think of some reward and punishment system to have the teachers perform better?
Well, I think that would be the reward system. I would always agree. The punishment system I don't agree, which means that the increments that the teacher earn in a given year should be determined by their performance.
Not regular annual increments of a fixed.
Annual increments, I mean, they should not be fixed amount. They should be merit based.
With declining public funding to university education, how do the university generate resources and keep going and improve quality?
Well, the university generates resources normally at abroad by either alumni or by fees. In India, for some reason, in most of the universities, the alumni support is not coming to any significant extent. Some efforts have been made, but normally it is not very much. A few lakhs get collected at best. And sometimes somebody donates a hall or something like this, but it is not going to lead us more. The industry does not also support you much. So essentially it has to be fees from the students. A student is not going to pay you fees, which is even the real cost of his education, not to talk of something beyond it, unless he thinks it is useful to him in getting employment. Yes. So unless you can introduce employment-oriented subject, which may not guarantee employment but at least increase his employability, you are not able to attract students to such courses. There are a number of fields and one has to be aware of those fields and quickly take advantage of those fields and generate courses in those fields, and then I think there are plenty of takers. Rather, we have found from our experience at Indore as well as at Lucknow that any course of an employment or variety in which there are plenty of takers, in which there is plenty of employment potential, there are plenty of takers and you are not able to accommodate anybody almost at any kind of a fee. I mean, even at a fee of 62,000 rupees, which is $2,000 a year, you have a queue of people. You mean there are 300 people, for example, or 400 people who would like to be admitted somewhere where only 60 or 50 seats are available. And the closing limit is something like 65%. So, I mean, there is no dearth of people who would like to be educated if there was a limit. But one thing you have to be careful, that no course, howsoever employable it is today, is going to stay the same forever. So a constant revision of our programs is absolutely necessary.
Your experiment here of establishing International Institute of Professional Studies and self-financing programs in management has been very successful. It has generated a lot of resources. But the constant remains that we cannot create faculty positions or even employ a babu without government permission. So the major constraint which we are facing here is not money, but faculty and the support staff.
Well, I think what we are doing is that we may sometimes create a embarrassment for ourselves. Number one is by asking the government. Because what one can do is that nobody says that you create a faculty position. You can create an alternative non-faculty position which is of the same rank. And that way you don't need the government permission to do it.
But why can't the government allow us to create posts when we are not asking for money?
The thing is that the government will function in a certain manner. And the government does not have any hurry for anything.
Yes.
So, I mean, you have been a director of a school of management, and certainly you know about public administration. The first principle of public administration is don't take any risks.
Yes.
And if you don't do anything, you don't
You're
do
safe.
anything wrong.
Right. This is true. With the globalization and liberalization, how do we respond in the field of higher education? I mean, how we tailor ourselves? Perhaps you said once we can create high quality export commodities. I mean, students who can go abroad and teachers who can go abroad. How do we bring that that kind of excellence, responding to challenges?
Well, one of the, I think you are right in saying it, as I would say it again, and put it slightly differently, that our biggest contribution would be to create a cadre of people for service industry abroad and in the country, which would go with the globalization and internationalization of industry here and abroad. And as you see now, Indian executives are being recruited by companies abroad for positions abroad at fantastic, unheard of salaries. So the companies do realize it, that there is talent. So all we have to do is to nurture it and create a kind of a program in which the international opportunities are a part of the curriculum, and our students are made aware of those. So, I mean, by cutting down certain subjects and trying to bring in internationalization of things, we can do it. The second thing is, it's an age of specialization. So, by specializing on certain things like company laws, for example, or capital market, or say financial analysis, or you can say even GATT, even a 3-month course on GATT, or you know, even the new trade policy of Government of India.
Languages.
I mean, like languages is one thing, but what I say is even the new trade policy of India. Nobody knows that according to the new trade policy of India, how do you advise a given foreign company or a local company to take maximum advantage of it? And if you advise him, what kind of forms have to be filled? The skills that go with it, the procedure that goes with it, and the advice that goes with it. We don't know how to form the package.
Right. Professor Soda, once you were thinking about opening campuses overseas and spread our wings, because we have a strength of very able faculty and resources, do you still think so?
Well, I am still a dreamer. And I think the only thing that seems to happen in the country is that what I dream today happens sometime in the future.
Yes.
And what I dreamed a few days back happens today. I don't know what is the time difference.
Well,
so I'm sure it is going to happen. But right now, I'm personally not working on any specific project for that. Because I tried to do something, I ran into some difficulties at both ends. But they were not unsurmountable, but there were other problems which divided our attention.
Yes, Professor Soda, you are and you have been a dreamer, but not an ideal dreamer. You have been a very practical and very astute administrator also. You implemented your dreams here, and I hope your dreams are implemented in Lucknow also. I understand the difficulty in the performance appraisal system, but I still believe that if there is no performance appraisal system as it is now, there is not enough emphasis on performance. We have to build excellence in our educational system. We have a lot to deliver. In fact, I believe that we as teachers have failed in our duty to the society, and our duty is now to put quality in the education and cater to the needs of the new generation students. Thank you very much.